I'm excited for this. I didn't really prepare anything. So once again, I feel like we're always just winging it, but
Yeah, I didn't really prepare anything either, obviously. I just put those notes. Um, I like just started the recording too, so people can hear us talking, but like on the Google Doc where like we kind of write down the bullet points and just put like random intro conversation on the
yeah.
very first one because I don't know, I've just been having so much fun just not really thinking too much about these and just going in and just talking, and I feel like that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, I feel like it makes it so much easier and it becomes more of like a conversation, and I feel like you get a lot of our in the moment thoughts, not this. I mean, not that we haven't thought about this prior, but I feel like we really just come into this with, what we think on the subject, and it's our real and raw in the moment thoughts.
Yeah, I feel like if you want like a really structured like video or recording, then you just got to tune into like
Yeah.
if I make like a YouTube video that's like super edited, but like
Yeah. Or the
there's the
Instagram videos or something
yeah
like that, like the educational videos.
yeah exactly. And I'm actually doing another podcast later today with somebody,
I saw
and
that. I was like,
and
man, he's really going at
yeah,
it.
and we don't even have a topic decided on.
I love
So
it.
I don't know. We'll figure it out um, before we get started. But yeah, so I've Kara Goss again on the podcast. This is her third appearance. Um, Super excited to have her back on. It's been a while though. It's been probably a few months since the last time you were on.
Yeah, yeah, it has. The last time I was on, I think it was January. It was right before like all the COVID stuff started happening. It was when things were kind of really getting rolling with my business and everything. So yeah, it has been a minute.
Yeah, yeah. But super pumped to have her back on. Um, we had a couple of topics that we want to talk about today, but I think we're just going to probably stick with one because once we get going on something, we tend to,
We talk too much.
yeah, we talk way too much and it takes like an hour to get through one little topic. But it's good because then we can dive into the details more
Hmm.
that way. So, um, everyone kind of probably already knows who you are, who's
I
listening
love
to this.
it.
But yeah, she's a registered dietitian. She's a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach. She um, trains people along with helps them with their nutrition. Super successful, and yeah, super excited to have her on again.
Thank you. Yes.
So today we were going to talk about the difference between eating for health and eating for body composition, because I think this is something that a lot of people get confused about, and they kind of intersect them in areas where they might not necessarily intersect. And um, so, Carol, what would you kind of describe to somebody what eating for like optimal or better health would be?
Yeah, so I think that in terms of eating for health, we're looking at the overall picture here. Like we're making sure that health markers are good, like blood work looks good, biofeedback is good. Not only that, like are we getting in all of the nutrients that we need? And I also think that like eating for health or like healthy eating, it has more of a psychological component to it, I would say, because that plays a really big role in your overall health, is your mental health as well, and your relationship with food. So I think that, it's kind of hard to, I feel like, especially for me as a registered dietitian and you as an RD to be, like, it's hard for us to use the word healthy because there needs to be context around it always. And I definitely think that the word gets just thrown around a lot and people have a lot of misconceptions around it. But I would say that eating for health is really just looking at the overall framework of, are you giving your body what it needs? Are you giving your internal health what it needs, and your mental health as well? What would you say?
Yeah, yeah. So I agree with everything that you said there. I think, like in general, when we're talking to the general public, if you ask them, like, is this food healthy or not? Probably like 9 times out of 10, they're going to get it right, I guess, or at least they're going to get close. And that's going back to the other thing. I hate using the term healthy to kind of label a food because it's always context dependent.
Mm-hmm.
So what's healthy for one person might not necessarily be healthy for another, and what's healthy for one person in a certain situation might not be healthy for another person or for the same person in a different situation.
Yeah,
Um, and I like how you said where it kind of connects your kind of physical health, like psychological health, spiritual health, and everything um, all together. Um, if a food is kind of healthy for you, like what are we talking about there? Are we talking about physical only, or are we talking about psychologically healthy? Because I mean, somebody could look at, like, let's just say donuts,
hmm,
and probably most people would say that's an unhealthy food. But if you're dealing with somebody who has this really, really negative relationship with food and they're constantly trying to avoid foods like that, maybe it's healthy for them to include that in there, um, and realize like that's okay. Um,
absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I would also say that, I think that the term healthy eating it's hard too, because many times people who are like on a journey to better their health or eat healthy are often on a journey to change their body composition in some way. But a food can be looked at as like healthy or have health benefits, but it might not be the best choice in your specific goals and in changing your body composition. And I think that that's what we're kind of going to get into here is like, how do they overlap? How are they different? But like, this is so funny because I always, like how you said about donuts, I always think of acai bowls. They're like something that's huge that I feel like people love. I love them. They're so freaking good. But so they would be considered like something healthy, right? They're made all with fruit. Like you got like the like organic granola in it and the oats and honey and all these different things, right? But if you're someone like, are we looking at it from a health standpoint or are we looking at it from like an overall goal standpoint? Because if you're someone who's maybe on a weight loss journey or something, eating that may very well put you over your overall daily calorie intake if you didn't know, how much was in it. And again, like a lot of sugar from the fruit, but again, it's natural sugar. So I think that it's just important to always put context behind eating for health and like healthy eating.
yeah, yeah, I love what you said there about how basically that example that you gave with those bowls, how they can be viewed as being healthy, but if you have certain goals as far as your body composition, then it might not interconnect. Like you might not want to include that quote unquote healthy food because it's going to um, get you farther away from that goal that you have. I think in general, like we could say that healthy food is something that is micronutrient dense, so it has a lot of vitamins and minerals in it. Um,
Absolutely.
but I think a lot of people then automatically think that if something is lower calorie or has like low calorie density, then it's automatically healthy, which isn't
Hmm.
necessarily the case. Like we could take something like olive oil, virgin olive oil, like that is very calorically dense, meaning like a small portion of it has a lot of calories. But I mean,
Hmm.
there are a lot of studies showing its health benefits. But if you have some kind of body composition goal, including too much of that is going to stray you farther away from that goal, despite that food actually being what you would consider a healthy food.
Yeah.
Same thing, like another example that came up was like salmon. Um,
Yeah.
that if you're getting like the high fat salmon, like fatty fish is super healthy or it has a lot of health benefits to it. But if you're including too much of it and it puts you over kind of your calorie maintenance level, then it's going to change your body composition in some way that might not be desirable. So I think if we're really, really like focused on finding a definition for like a healthy food, I'd probably say something that's very micronutrient dense would be kind of
Hmm.
my answer as far as overall healthy food. But then again, there's always context too. So
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And I think also that I honestly think that kind of like eating for health can honestly be looked at as more of a behavioral side of things if we're taking it to that approach. And like creating those habits and behaviors that we need every day for our overall health, whether or not we're trying to change our body composition, like these are things that we need to make sure that, spiritually, mentally, physically, everything that we're healthy. Like making sure that we're meeting our serving of fruits and veggies a day, drinking enough water, getting like making half of our grains whole grains or more than that, making sure we're having protein with each meal. Just all of those little things that kind of come into play whenever we are focusing on our overall health. So I feel like you can take eating for health and healthy eating as more of like a behavior based approach. And then obviously getting into like body composition is gonna be more of a numbers based approach.
Yeah,
On
yeah.
in some terms, obviously we want to still be making sure that we are eating very nutrient dense foods for that as well.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like when I think of eating for health or eating healthy, I think of more kind of the different food choices that you
Mhm.
make. And then when I think of eating for body composition, it's more of how much of those choices are you having. So it's more of like a
Yeah,
quantity thing or a numbers thing, where eating for health is more about just the individual food choices. But even if you are eating for health, but your quantities are still way off, you really might not be eating, for health, because we know as we have too large of portion sizes, eventually we'll probably end up gaining weight. And this is maybe a topic for another podcast, but once you get to a certain level of, adiposity, specifically adiposity around like your midsection area, if it gets to a very extreme level, then that can have some negative health consequences, regardless of what actual food choices you are making. So there is some overlap there for sure,
yeah,
but to kind of make a blanket statement, to kind of simplify it, I think of healthy eating as being more like food choices, where eating for body composition is more of like what the quantities of those choices are.
absolutely. I would have to 100% agree with that. And I think that also, it's honestly like you can kind of look at eating for health as like a foundation and like the first step into eating for body composition, because one, we have to understand what kinds of foods we need to help us, because don't get me wrong, like I think that another problem that we see with eating for body composition is there are still some people out there who are the if it fits your macros, it's fine, whatever, and they're just filling their entire day with lower calorie, like lower calorie alternatives that have tons of sugar, alcohols, extra additives, and like different things like that. And we still want to be choosing the most whole and nutrient dense foods. And like, don't get me wrong, like me, like I'm really I feel like I used to preach like the 80-20 rule, and for myself I'm more of like 90-10, but like I feel like for in general and for like anyone who's just like a lifestyle client trying to change their body composition, 80-20 rule, 80% of your food's coming from nutrient dense sources, 20% of the diet coming from, other sources, quote unquote, more fun foods, that's completely fine. But I kind of just got on a ramble there, but
No,
I just think that whenever we are eating for body composition, we still have to take into consideration how the foods that we are consuming digest, how we respond to them, because a lot of people will just fill their daily macro targets with crap, and then their body is not going to reflect that very well.
yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Um, I think a big portion of where they kind of intersect, like healthy eating versus eating for body composition, is you have to have that base, like you said, of kind of healthy eating, because if you don't, it's going to make eating to change your body composition so much harder, because especially if you have fat loss as a goal, because kind of the goal in fat loss is obviously decrease your calories. That way you can be in a calorie deficit, lose weight, and lose body fat. And in order to do that, you have to be able to kind of control hunger at some point, because at some point, if you're eating less calories than you burn, you're going to be hungry. Your body's going to want more food because you're kind of restricting a little bit. Um, and when we have, our food choices dialed down with kind of a quote unquote healthy base, high micronutrient foods, high fiber foods, high protein, those foods are going to fill us up a lot easier, or a lot more than foods that are more processed, even if they do have like a good macronutrient ratio. Um,
Yeah.
like you think about having like a a huge salad. Like you could have a huge salad and it's put a little bit of, dressing on there and it could be maybe like 100, 150 calories. Um, or you could have this like tiny ass bar that's like 150 calories too.
Right.
Both are 150 calories, but one is probably going to fill you up a lot more than the other, and it's going to allow you to, hit that calorie goal or whatever it is that you have to get that body composition goal. So that's one
Yeah,
way that they definitely kind of intersect and overlap there.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that, I guess we didn't really define like eating for body composition. And I'd love to know like your definition of this. I mean, for me, I think it's hard for me to give like a single definition, but I think there are a lot of different factors that go into it. But I think like the main factors that are going to be intertwined with eating for body composition are making sure our macronutrient ratios are optimal for whatever our goal is, whether we're building muscle, losing fat, recomping, reverse dieting, whatever it is, making
Hmm.
sure that those ratios are optimal. Or even if you're someone starting out, just making sure that like calories are optimal, or calories and protein, if you're not starting out with macros. And I think that meal timing has a lot to do with that as well, and can be very beneficial, like in terms of intra workout nutrition too. So I think those are like some really big components of eating for body composition.
Yeah, yeah. Eating for body composition, there are definitely different levels of it. And you want to go with whatever level meets your kind of experience level or what you're willing to commit to. So, level one would obviously definitely be calories. So, you want to have calories in check. That way, your energy balance is in check. That way, you can control whether you're going to lose weight, maintain your weight, or gain weight.
Mm-hmm.
Then the third or second level would be calories and protein. So you want to have the protein down, that way you can maintain or build lean body mass or muscle mass, whether you're depending on whatever phase you're in, whether in fat loss, maintenance, or gaining weight. Then the third level would be um, kind of, you could call it macronutrients or macronutrients and calories.
Yeah.
Because if you're tracking your macronutrients and hitting those, you're going to be hitting your calories anyway.
Yes.
Um,
So many people get confused by
yeah,
that. It's definitely something that I have to reiterate and explain. And I also think a big reason why is because my fitness pal is like wonky with your calories and stuff. And a lot of people use
yeah,
my fitness pal, but I'm always just like, just stick to the three macros that makes up your calories.
yeah.
And it's definitely
So
confusing for some people.
it really is, but I think this is kind of the easiest analogy for me to think about it. So, um, let's go back to us using cash. Let's say we're using like completely cash, dollar bills or any kind of bills. Okay, so counting your calories is like counting how much total money you are bringing in a week. Let's say how much
Hmm.
money you're bringing in a week is in cash, regardless, your total. Counting macronutrients is like counting the specific amount of $20 bills you're bringing in, the specific amount of $50 bills you're bringing in, or the specific amount of $10 bills you're bringing in. Um,
That's really good. And
yeah.
that is really
So
good.
overall, you're still counting like the total amount of money you're bringing in each week. You're just counting, either the total amount of money and that's it, or you're counting the specific amount of money from each bill you're getting. So
Yes.
really easy analogy, I think, to kind of think about to understand it. But yeah, it can definitely be confusing for a lot of people.
For sure, for sure. I definitely think that's something that I always have to hone in on. But yeah, absolutely. I think that again, like there's different levels of it, and it genuinely just all depends on where you are starting out at. But understand that if you have a specific body composition goal, like if you are truly trying to build that muscle, lose that fat, whatever it may be, like there's got to be some level of understanding what you're putting into your body and the amount that you're putting into your body, because how are we supposed to control that outcome if we have no control of what's going in and what we're expending as well, and I think that that's something that a lot of the general population struggles with, is So say that it's just somebody who has a fat loss goal and they started on their journey and they're like, you know what? Oh my gosh, like I've been eating so healthy. Like I've been having protein, I've been eating my veggies, whatever it may be. A lot of the times what and I'll pull this directly from like most of my clients' data, like much of the time, whenever I have clients who come to me who have been trying to lose fat, typically what their macronutrient range looks like is like 60 grams of protein a day, normally like 140 grams of carbs, and somewhere between like 30 and 50 grams of fat. And they're eating way below what they need to be eating. But not only that, right there, they're not eating enough protein to actually aid in muscle growth and further fat loss, because we know that the more lean mass we have on our body, much easier it is to lose fat. And it's just such an eye opener for people whenever they're able to say, oh my gosh, like now I'm understanding why each of these macronutrients is so important and why I do need certain amounts for a specific body composition goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, it's funny that a lot of people, they think if they're eating healthy, they're automatically going to get the body composition goal they want. And I think something that you mentioned in the beginning of the podcast was that some people come to you and they say they want to eat healthy, but they really have like hidden body composition goals behind that.
Yes.
Like they want to start eating healthy. That's what they say, because maybe they think people will think less of them if they say they want to change their body. Like they don't want people to think they have superficial opinions on how they should
Mm-hmm.
look or something like that. But you really have to get down, like, okay, do you actually want to eat healthy, or do you want to lose body fat, or do you want to eat healthy and lose body fat? Because you have to identify those two goals, because we
You have to
can,
set the expectations.
yeah, because we can eat healthy, we can choose healthy food choices, and it won't have anything to do with whether or not you lose weight or not. Like if you
Mm-hmm.
maintain your weight, like we can do that while eating healthy. But when it comes to changing your body composition, there has to be some manipulation of the quantity that you're eating, not just the actual food choices.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's funny that you say that, because I actually had someone say in an application last week, like, I don't want to sound vain, but I just really want to lose X amount of body weight, And I think that is something that people, especially in like the culture that we're living in today, I feel like people get scared. We've talked about this so much.
Yeah.
Go listen to our last podcast together. But I feel like people get scared to want to change their bodies, and it's okay to do so. But I completely agree with you there. I think that a lot of people get very discouraged on their on their journey, because they think that they're doing everything right. They're spinning their wheels, they're eating all of these quote unquote healthy foods, they're eating nutrient dense foods, and they're making the right food choices like we said before, but it's just that their proportions are off, and
Mhm.
the macronutrients coming in probably aren't working the best for what their goal is.
Yeah. And it's important to separate that too, because by separating it, it makes it easier for the person to stick to the plan to get to whatever goal they want. So, like, if they want to lose weight or lose body fat, but they have this misconception that they always have to eat healthy to achieve that, then they might pass up on something like a cookie or a donut or something that to like change your body composition, you can absolutely have a cookie a day for sure.
Hmm. Yeah.
I mean, even to eat healthy, you can still have a cookie a day, but um, it like you could eat like what's his name, Jordan Syatt. He ate
Yes, he did the McDonald's.
McDonald's
Hmm.
every single day for I think it was a month, and he lost weight. He lost body fat. Like
Yep.
you can absolutely do that, and I mean I wouldn't recommend eating McDonald's every single day for it. And
Oh my God.
I know he wouldn't recommend eating McDonald's every single day to lose weight, but um, just knowing that you can do that is, I think it helps the public kind of separate those two, because like McDonald's obviously isn't viewed as a healthy food. So if you can eat strictly unhealthy food in the public eye and still lose weight, then it just proves that there's some kind of separation. Like there's some distinction between healthy eating and eating to lose weight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where there is also an overlap though, because then that mental aspect comes into play of the fact that you can change your body composition and still eat foods that you love and still, make the foods like donuts or burgers or whatever it may be, still make the foods love that you work into your overall lifestyle while changing your body composition. So I know that sometimes it does feel like whenever you're utilizing macros, you kind of have to be on autopilot. And you sometimes do end up eating a lot of the same things. You have staple meals, you know what your body digests well, and you know what works for you. And I am all for that. Like, that's absolutely fine with me. I have my staple meals and like I eat a lot of the same things. But just knowing that there can be and there is that element of quote unquote fun when changing your body composition, because you know and understand how it fits into your overall daily needs, I think is really powerful. And I think that's kind of where, like healthy eating and eating for your body composition overlap and let in that like mental aspect.
Yeah, definitely. I think people mentally they have this view of what a healthy food should look like, and if they are so attaching that so much to that's what they have to do to lose weight, then they think that they can't have those types of foods. Um, and, like
Definitely.
I'm the same way. Like I could literally probably eat the same like 4 or 5 ish meals like all the time, and I would be
Same.
completely happy. Um, like I just get into a routine, and then it just takes the decisions out of it. Like it takes having like it's not like I get stressed about making decisions, but the less decisions you have to make in a day, the smoother your day is probably going to go. So,
Yeah.
um, I mean, I know my wife. She tells me all the time that I just eat really boring stuff and can just eat the same things every single day. And
That's
I'm
how everyone around me is too.
yeah,
I mean,
I'm like, yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't know. I enjoy it. I just eat food and
yeah. And
yep.
I honestly think that that's something else that's really interesting is depending on like the type of person you are and depending on what your goals are, you're okay with doing one thing versus the other. Like I have friends who are like, how do you eat the same things every single day? And guys, don't get me wrong, like there's a lot of variety in my diet. Like I do switch things up and I do like, but I cycle through the same like fat sources, carb sources, and protein sources. And it just makes my life that much easier. And I genuinely enjoy it because I know that, like, it's just getting me that much closer to the end goal. But then you have the other person who's like, I wouldn't be able to do that. Like, I just want to be able to eat, whatever I want each day. Like, I might not be in the mood for that. Like, how do you know that you're going to be in the mood for that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's just interesting looking at like the two different types of people and like people who genuinely are really set on changing their body composition. Like, I'll say that I've had a lot of clients come to me whose diet has been just absolutely all over the place. Like there was never any consistency, no same meals or anything like that. And they've said, like now that we've started macros, like I have found this consistency. And yes, there's still variety, but I have these meals that I love and that work for me. And that makes me happy because honestly, having to make new food choices every single day, that's stressful. I don't know about you, but that is stressful. So
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's stressful. I think it's especially when you're just busy, you don't have a lot of time, and you have to especially if you're somebody who does want to like change your body composition too, that makes it even harder because then you have to worry about how this kind of fits in with your goals and everything. Like if you
mhm.
don't have body composition goals and you just want to maintain your body weight, then you can definitely probably afford to have a little bit more flexibility without kind of the added extra time it might take to kind of fit it in. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I just find it easier to I just have like 5 staple meals and I can just rotate through them. And sometimes like I'll have two, or I have a meal like 2 days in a row and I just
Mhm.
won't even like, it'll be fine. Like, I don't know.
Yep.
I don't place that much stress on like my individual, like each individual meal. And I think it gives me more like mental clarity for other decisions like throughout the day because I'm not so focused on putting together like I don't know, some fancy 10 to 15 ingredient Pinterest
Not
recipe.
me. Couldn't be me.
No.
I'm like three ingredients and I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
same.
Yeah, honestly, I think that like another overlap there too is, oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. What was I gonna say? Oh, another overlap is basically that, you know, we're eating to change our body composition and we want to eat healthy as well. But I think that a lot of times in either case, like healthy eating, body composition, some people just blatantly disregard the fact that some foods make them feel like crap and they just won't take them out of their diet. Like, I think it's really important in both cases, always to look at the way that the food that you're eating is making you feel. Like digestion wise, energy levels, different things like that. You know what I mean? Because like there might be this like healthy food that you think is like great, it's super healthy, it's super nutrient dense, but it might not be something that you respond that well to. And you continue and continue to eat it, and it's just going to have this negative feedback from your body. And I think that that's something that I know I've done it before. Like, there are foods that I absolutely love. And like, there was, I forget what the protein bar was, but this was like 3 years ago. I can't remember what it was. It was some brand. If I think of the name, I'll say it. But
Is it like a pasta brand?
no, it was something that I got from GNC once. So it might have been more popular because it was at GNC, but it wasn't. Was it Grenade? I think it was Grenade. I think it was Grenade. Have you ever heard of those?
I'm
They're like
not sure.
the Grenade carb killer bars or something like that. It was
Oh my
it
god.
was something, yeah, it was something along anything with carb killer in it, I'm there, right?
Yeah.
But something along those lines. And I love those bars so much just because purely of the taste. This was like 3 years ago. But they caused me so much digestion issues. Like, they caused me so much bloating. I was super gassy. Like, I just was not feeling it after I ate those bars, and I would continue to eat them. And I was like, why am I feeling this way? Like, and I finally pinpointed it to like, oh, it's the bars. And like, sometimes I would just still get them and eat them, knowing the way that they made me feel and the way that my body reacted to them. So I think that's another really big, important piece of, wanting to change your body composition and just eating for your overall health is knowing how certain foods affect you.
Yeah, yeah. I'm really glad you brought that up because a lot of people, when they're first starting to get into things, they think that there are certain foods that they have to eat. Like I can't tell you how many times somebody has asked me, like, "Oh, what should I eat to lose weight?" or "What should I eat to gain weight?" And it's like, I mean, you could literally eat fucking anything and
Yeah.
gain weight, and it doesn't matter. Um, and I was gonna go off something else too, but I just lost my train of thought too.
There, you hate
Oh my
that.
god. Um,
It's like a blank.
yeah, so you can literally eat anything and gain or lose weight. Oh yeah, here it was. Um, so I can give you suggestions, but your suggestions are going to be individual to you.
Yes.
Like if you're somebody who is eating fast food 4 to 5 times, a week, or maybe they are eating, I don't know, maybe you're eating pizza or something like every single night. Like I could just say, okay, maybe for this meal, just include like a protein, a carb, and a veggie for dinner, and they could probably lose weight from just doing that.
Yeah.
Making that one small change. But if you're somebody who you already have a lot of those other boxes checked off, maybe you eat, 4 balanced meals per day with a protein, carb, and veggie. You have a few servings of fruit a day. You exercise. My answer to your question of what I should do to lose weight is going to be a lot different than somebody who doesn't have those boxes checked. Um,
Yeah.
so like my food recommendation for that person might be completely different than yours. So just another reason to kind of know that the actual food doesn't really matter when it comes to body composition. It matters how different is that food from what you are currently doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I completely agree. And just remember that there always has to be context behind the situation, and obviously, like, again, like, we want to be eating foods that we know we're digesting well and that we respond well to. But at the end, if you're not even hitting that and checking that box, then it might be a really simple fix to get you to that body composition change.
Yeah, pretty much once you get to a more advanced level, then you're gonna have to do more advanced tactics to, keep seeing change. Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I honestly, like, I think that that's one of the hardest things that I have to answer as a dietitian is this healthy? Because I'm like, well, it depends. Every single answer that I'm going to give you is it depends. What does the rest of your diet look like? What does your exercise look like? Like there's just so many different factors that go into it, you know?
yeah. You're sitting at the Thanksgiving table or something, and your uncle looks over to you and it's like, "Oh, like should I be eating this?" And I'm like, "Well,
Yep.
I literally cannot answer that question with accuracy by just knowing what you have in your hand right there. Like, there's no way to really answer that question. Um, I mean, like we said in the beginning, in general, most of your food choices, you want them to be micronutrient dense, high fiber, and probably like moderate to high protein, just to help fill you up a little more.
Yeah.
Um, but in general, it all comes down to the overall diet and then how that diet overall affects your mental, psychological, and spiritual health as well. So,
Yeah, I completely agree. Is there anything else we kind of want to touch on with this topic? I feel like we really went through a lot and
yeah, I feel like we really
overlapped a lot.
Yeah, no, I feel like we covered most of it. I think just circling back, I think overall, if someone wants to focus on healthy eating, don't expect body composition changes. Don't expect to lose or
Yes.
gain weight, um, because eating healthy doesn't necessarily get you there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then if your goal is to change your body composition, lose weight, or maybe even gain weight, don't think that going for that goal is necessarily going to get you to healthy eating either, because you can lose weight by eating McDonald's every single day, or you can lose weight by eating salads and that's it. And that's not really healthy either, even though it can get you to lose weight and lose body fat. So they don't
Yeah,
necessarily overlap, but they can definitely be mutually beneficial to each other.
absolutely. I completely agree. And I think that something else that was really important that you said there is like, it just put a light bulb in my mind is just like be realistic about your expectations and understand the difference between the two. And if you're somebody who, works with a coach, or if you're thinking about it or anything like that, always be open and honest about what your goals are, because like we're not mind readers. Like I'll have some people come to me saying, I just want a lifestyle change. All right, what does a lifestyle change mean to you? Because for most people, and if they're overweight coming to me saying, I want a lifestyle change, that means they want to lose body fat, or they want to build muscle, but they're not saying it. So a lifestyle change for me would mean implementing all of these different behaviors, making sure that we're focusing on good food choices, healthy habits, exercise, and everything, but maybe not specifically tailoring each macronutrient down to the core. You know what I mean? So it's really important to just be realistic in your expectations and be like real with yourself about the end goal as well and what you need to do to get there.
Yeah, 100%. You got to be straight up with someone if you're working with them and let them know what you want, because the last thing that we want is for you to come to us and say that you want to just eat healthy, but like really deep down you do want to see some kind of body composition change, and then us not point you into that direction because you didn't really state it, and then you feel like disappointed, or you feel like what you didn't work when it actually did work. It just wasn't directed toward that goal that you had. So
Yeah, I completely agree. Always got to manage expectations. That's what I say. I say I'm always here to manage expectations. It's
yeah,
important.
definitely. Well, thank you so much, Kara, for coming on again. I know we're definitely going to have you on in the future, especially to go over that other topic that we were talking about. Uh,
Yes.
but I think hopefully the viewers can walk away from this and really know that there is a distinct difference, but they do help each other overall. So
Absolutely.
let them know kind of like, is there anything new you're working on, or what you're just currently working on now? Where they should get in touch with you, in case they haven't seen the previous episodes where you kind of talked about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram at Kara Goss _RD. And then I do have a Facebook community as well. It's the Fit, Fueled, and Fearless community. And right now I'm actually working on getting a website up and running and a new freebie that I'm really excited about. So those are my current projects, but always here to help. My DMs are always open if you have questions. And I offer one-on-one coaching as well if you're interested in that.
Super, super exciting. And I'll definitely be tagging her in all of these posts that you'll see on this, so you'll be able to reach her through there too. So, thanks again for coming on, Kara.
Yeah, thank you.